Let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And yeah, I share your feelings. It's not just the end of our show, but it's the end of The Late Show on CBS. I'm not being replaced. This is all just going away.
The shocking and very sad announcement from Stephen Colbert last night that CBS is canceling The Late Show after 33 years. I've had the privilege of appearing on Colbert's program twice, and there is no one more generous or knowledgeable or astute or in sync with his massive audience when it comes to the things that actually make America great: truth, courage, humanity, democracy, and yes, comedy. He is a bright light and a beacon of truth-telling. According to the network, the decision to end the franchise, a late-night institution hosted for 22 seasons by David Letterman and the last 11 by Colbert, was, quote, purely financial and, quote, not related in any way to the show's performance, content, or other matters happening at Paramount. But it does come after Paramount, CBS's parent company, agreed to pay Donald Trump $16 million to settle his lawsuit, largely viewed as frivolous, over edits to an October 60 Minutes interview with then presidential candidate Kamala Harris. And only 3 days after Colbert criticized that settlement as a, quote, big fat bribe in the midst of an $8 billion pending merger for Paramount, which needs approval from the Trump administration. Watch.
As someone who has always been a proud employee of this network, I am offended. And I don't know if anything will ever repair my trust in this company. But just taking a stab at it, I'd say $16 million would help. Unlike the payoffs from ABC and Twitter, Paramount's settlement did not include an apology. Instead, that's good. Instead, the corporation released a statement where they said, you may take our money, but you will never take our dignity. You may, however, purchase our dignity for the low, low price of $16 million. We need the cash. Now, I believe this kind of complicated financial settlement with a sitting government official has a technical name in legal circles. It's big fat bribe.
Joining our coverage, NPR media correspondent David Folkenflik. Molly and the Rev are still here. David, one, were you surprised? And two, your thoughts?
Well, yet again, we have that famous Jeopardy category of shocking but not surprising. It's one of these things that really is a signal moment. It is impossible to disaggregate it from the announcement just days earlier of the settlement, which was itself for a lawsuit that all the law professors and media lawyers and executives I've spoken to over the months about has said was perhaps one of the most frivolous things they have ever read and scrutinized. You know, it is true that late night is struggling. Colbert at the top of the heap in ratings, and you know, is clearly, what can you say? He's just a class figure and extremely funny, whether or not you agree with his politics. Just quite a brilliant presence, and he really made that show come alive. You know, hard to inherit a show from somebody who created it, somebody so distinctive as David Letterman. But he found his voice when he said, you know what, it's okay for me to acknowledge my take on the politics of the moment in the Trump years, you know, in particular. And that worked for him. It, you know, may have alienated conservative audience, you know, for a broadcast network, but nonetheless, it really made sense for him. And I think he brought a lot of insight, wisdom, and at times empathy to issues on the public sphere and in the private, personal scale as well. But that said, it fits in with a series of sequential actions that have been taken to kind of clear the decks so that Shari Redstone, the controlling owner of CBS's parent company, Paramount Global, can sell it to Skydance, a studio that's ultimately controlled by a multi-billionaire who's one of the president's supporters.
What is likely to be learned about how much getting rid of this show or ending Colbert's program, will we ever find out if that was something either hinted or promised or part of the deal to get the merger approved?
Well, I will say that one of the parties in this who has the most interest to be circumspect about it is the one who speaks out loud the most, and that's the president himself, right? So CBS CBS had actually fought this vigorously in court with lawyers making muscular legal arguments. I was reading through them in I think it was the Northern District of Texas, and seeing what they had to say. And at the same time, their parent company was desperately trying to settle this, right? And they said, listen, we didn't, as you pointed out, we didn't do an apology. We gave $16 million to what? Grease the skids, essentially, to clear the decks is what's really happening here. Everybody understands that. Trump went out there at a point in which Paramount is saying there's nothing else to this, and said, you know, I'm going to get an equivalent amount, essentially, something like $15 to $18 million worth of public service announcements, because we're going to get them on the conservative side to do in advocacy of issues or standpoints that I think are important. And it was suggested it might be against anti-Semitism, in favor of the military, other things, but, you know, with a cast that he could embrace and that in some ways is consistent with his own agenda. Paramount disclaimed any knowledge of this. Skydance has been silent about it, but Trump wanted this to be out and known. And it's almost as though they've identified another sphere that nobody had really thought about as this is politicized. Public service announcements, that's part of the liberal media too. And I think what the lesson, if you're asking for a larger theme to do, is even though you have these major corporations with tons of money behind them that fund major corporately owned news organizations, in a time like this, many of them will bend to power too. And that is, you know, a signal question of our age. Will institutions that provide knowledge to the public through which they can absorb their world and make decisions for themselves as citizens, will they retain their independence? Or will they bend to power? We all have to make accommodations in life, and institutions do too, but this is more than an accommodation. And so the question is, was this done simply to cut losses, as CBS's parent company is suggesting and CBS is suggesting? It's hard to look at it in the spirit. Clearly, the message is not simply that they want to cut costs, but that they're conveying to an audience that's very important to them, the regulators who work for President Trump. They are seeking whatever they can do to strike and forge a peace.